And we're live. What's going on, man?
Not much. How are you?
Good. What were you doing before? Like, what's your career background? And then we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. My background's in medical device sales, so I did that for 5 years. Almost right out of college before that, did a marketing and sales job too for restaurants. So was familiar with the sales side of how to sell assets and how to sell those types of medical devices. And was looking about 2 years ago when I found the program, looking at ways to make money online. I had briefly tried and researched doing some drop shipping things with coffee mugs, and quickly learned that that was a rabbit hole I didn't want to go under, and found this program, which changed the course in my trajectory. I was making really good money in medical device sales, but there was always something in me that not only wanted to be an entrepreneur, but wanted to have a laptop lifestyle to where I could work wherever I wanted to, make the type of money that was unlimited, and then help out businesses. So it kind of all came together for me at that point. And over the course of the last 2 years, I've had a pretty unique journey in how I've gotten to where I'm at today. And it's just really cool to see the progression, as we were, kind of talking.
It's one of those things. It's cool to see, because some people, like, if you come into this where you are making a few $1,000s a month, one of the downside is that obviously the getting into a business requires capital and time and energy, and that's a little scary if you really don't have a lot of resources coming into it. But the upside of that for a lot of people is just a couple clients is good, and there's a lot of pain. A lot of those people, like, making a lot more money is really life changing. It's cool for you because you come from the perspective of, like, you were making like $200,000 a year before you got into this, and I know that was more recent in medical supplies, but like you were making six figures before getting into this. And so for you, like, what was the reasoning? Because obviously financially, it sounds like you had resources, like you had money, but like, what was the thing that made you go, I'm just like, I need to do something else?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me was the freedom of having a life that I could go wherever I want, do whatever I want, and still make that type of money. So the money in medical device sales was more than I ever thought I was going to make. Medical device sales was what I always said I was going to do, and I did it. And when I realized how much money it was almost like when I was 27 years old, right when I started this program, and it's almost like, well, where do I go now? You hit that what most people that are even close to my age are not making, much less like their parents. So
Right.
for me, it was just like more so of like, do I want to go on this path forever? And I saw people that were in the company that I was at over the course of the next 20 years. Like, I could have coasted my way through everything, but I was working long hours. I was traveling, so I was always away, and it was just a grind. So I figured, why not do that grind and build something up to where it's for me and only me and my family, and that was my why, and why I'm here today, and why I got in the program.
Time is the most precious, like, asset everyone has, but it's always interesting how, like, life goes in phases, right? Like, for me, the first thing was all I cared about was like getting to six figures, like getting to like a decent amount of income. And then once you get there, you go, wait a minute, like, money's cool, but now it's about freedom. Right. And then it's like the next thing. It's always to me, every time you have a goal, once you reach it, then it's like, oh, like that's cool, but it wasn't as exciting as I thought it was. It's like you have to keep going. But yeah, man, I get it. It's long hours. Like, I know that space. It's also a lot of driving, right? Like, I know a lot of people in medical device sales where their cars have like 100,000 miles on it. A couple of years.
Lot of driving, a lot of lunches, a lot of in services early in the morning, late at night. Just a whirlwind of issues and things that people don't see. They only know and hear that stuff as though making a lot of money.
For you, do you remember, was it pretty instant from like when you saw what we're about to scheduling the call, or were you kind of sitting on like case study videos for a minute before you actually scheduled the call with
Yeah,
us?
so I saw that on a Monday night, and then I scheduled a call for Tuesday. So it was
Got
pretty
it.
quick.
That's awesome. And I know for you, like you were very, very skeptical and like hesitant on that call. Like I think you were on that phone for like 90 plus minutes, something like that, right?
Yeah,
With us.
exactly. Yep. Yeah, and
So
it was more so for like me. It was one like I knew I didn't have a ton of time at that point to be really going and building a business. And then I also was just like, there's no way that it can be this true and be this big of an opportunity. So I was I was tough to sell.
yeah, and the thing that I love is I think people don't realize that like grill us, like we actually do the business. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that was the thing that was impressive, like on your call, was we actually have Legion Cleanse, like we understand this super well, and we don't get annoyed at questions. We actually love it when people ask us stuff. Like, was that kind of like interesting to you? Like you thought this call was just going to be like this 20 minutes, someone's just trying to slam you into something. Were you kind of surprised like how informative it was?
Yeah, and I mean there was I'd been in sales, so it wasn't like I was confused or surprised by someone having a rebuttal or an answer to my question, but it was with sometimes you just know a salesperson because they know how to sell a program or they know how to sell a product or a service, but you can tell that they haven't done it themselves or that they don't truly believe in it. Whereas that was the complete opposite of what I was seeing. I was not only seeing results, but I was seeing passion and legitimacy behind the results that spoke volumes, especially from someone that was very heavily involved in sales.
Yeah, no, that's awesome because I'm the same way. Like, I'm very curious about the product. Like, I'm very much product driven. So, if I want something, I just ask such nitpicky questions. But to me, it's not a issue of like spending money. It's more of I just want to really know what I'm about to get. And so, yeah, I'm the same way. I can't stand traditional sales. I think it's silly. I think the idea that you're going to convince someone against their will of something, I think it never happens. So to me, it's just like my job is to inform and like here it is, and here's all the facts, and like you get to decide yay or nay, right? But that's awesome. So you hop into the program on the call, and like, do you remember? Because I remember for you, you still, even though you jumped in on the call, I know there's still that underlying skepticism, right? Like that didn't just go away the second you got into the program, right? There's still a little
Yeah.
bit of that. Okay, how good is this really, right? So you were kind of sitting back and just going through the training modules, but you weren't really like super hyper excited to like go build the business.
Yeah. So it took me about a month to get through the training, but I was also building along with it. So I had my first site up in about 4 weeks. And
Nice.
right after I got my first asset up there, it almost started producing calls like almost immediately because of the GMB, Google My Business. And
Nice.
so from there, I knew that it worked, but it was like, okay, well, what do I do now? And I started
Right.
having some hurdles trying to find someone to take the calls and getting a client and all those other things. So that took up so much of my time and effort that I stopped building other assets. I stopped putting in time and effort into that stuff. So when I kind of started building out more stuff, I had those same issues because I wasn't doing it probably the best way. And it took me about a year to actually get those processes and actually figure out what I was doing, and what I had been doing wasn't what wasn't really taught, and or what was gonna
Yep.
be successful in this business.
Yeah, that's the number one irony is like in the training, we make it so clear, like never ever only build one site at a time. And the reason why is it's just like real estate. If you own 10 houses free and clear, not all 10 of them are going to have renters or tenants on them at the exact same time, right? Sometimes you just have assets that take a little bit longer to get a client. There's no worries on ranking or generating leads, but it's like not every site is monetizable at every one time. And I know we say it like it's like I think it's like one of the it's on like the second module of the train, like we're like build multiple sites at once. But you're just like me. I did it one site at a time in the beginning. And like so many students do that and then they get discouraged or like the site is like a really small client or something. It's like a $200 a month and they thought it'd be a $500 a month, or it takes longer to get the client or whatever. And so that's funny. Like literally that was my mistake getting into the program. I got my first client like 4 weeks in, but it was $500 a month, and I just thought it would be. I don't know why. Like I just stopped. I just kind of like paced. So you had a moment where in 1 month you went from like $2,000 a month to $10,000 a month really really quick. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I went from March. I started getting some momentum, but with where we were at in the medical device industry, like we had a pretty hard shutdown before a week, maybe even 2 weeks before it actually started circulating across the country because I was selling mostly into hospitals and doctors' offices and all those things. So for me, 2K was my biggest month in March, and I had momentum built up before then, coupled with I was now at my house all of the time instead of being running around and working on top of that. So the focus from there through on was building more sites, getting more clients, putting more time and energy into things that are actually going to be reducing me money. So it was kind of a perfect storm of I was on the right path, but that path got even accelerated at a whole nother level.
Our businesses grew because we said, okay, now let's double down on what we're doing in the online, building these online assets. And so was it, how long was it from then, from March to like you quitting your job?
Yeah. So I quit my job for my 2 weeks in on July 1st. So about a 4 month period.
Was that exciting, or was there still a little bit of fear when you actually quit and you said, I don't know if you had to put 2 weeks in or your 2 weeks notice or how it works in that space, but
yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of everything. And I think when I recommitted to the program and to my business, and then I started realizing in late April, early May that something is going to happen, and it's either going to be my business that I've been working so hard on and putting so much time and energy in, like that's going to end up falling off and failing, or my actual job is I need to go all in on one of these things. So could I have stayed another 3 or 6 months and had one or the other sacrificed and have issues with? Sure. But that just wasn't what I wanted to do. So it was exciting. It was, scary, all those things as every day in the life of an entrepreneur is.
And like you're now like over $17,000 a month, right? What was your last month?
17.5.
That's awesome. So yeah, I'd love to show. If you want to share your screen, I'd love to let's look at a couple of your sites here.
So this is auto glass repair in St. Louis. This keyword right there, my asset right here. I Google my business. It's the first one right here. Nice. So we're getting a ton of phone calls. And then if you scroll down, the organic search website is number 8 on the first page. So have both of those right there.
That's awesome.
And this is the website, Auto Glass Repair of STL.
Sweet.
And then over the last 30 days, so starting here on the 24th, I think it was 322 phone calls.
Yeah, that's just insanity. And I know some of those calls were, not, some of those calls were voicemail or whatever, but still, like, that's an insane amount of call volume. Do you remember, so for this client, what does this one site pay you every month?
Yeah, so this site pays me $500 a month, which it's way undervalued, but he's been, an okay asset or an okay renter out for it. And the thing is it's got to work for his business too. So he's been having to hire people and do all these crazy things because this is more call volume than he gets for his actual regular website. So we're looking at trying to find a model and a way to figure that out for him too, because there's not a lot of people getting this much business in St. Louis, obviously, because we have the number one listing right here.
Right. That's awesome. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, I have clients all the time that are underpaid, but I actually don't mind that at all because I've noticed that those tend to be. I actually love situations where the business owner is getting such a good deal that it's just mailbox money, right? Like, they pay you every month. I have clients that it's been 5 straight years, and the only time I've called them was literally because their card that I kept running on auto bill, like, it just expired, right? Because the expiration, it was like 2 years, and 2 years goes by, and then I'm like, oh, I need to switch out the card. So yeah, I know you obviously can make more money on this site. I have, sites that I can make, double, if not triple, but I mean, it's easy money. And obviously it sounds like, over the next couple months, you probably will go back and ask him to raise it up. Right.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
That's super sweet. And so from there, so that's one of your sites. And then let's just take a look at one more that you pulled up here. Yep.
So this is for Appliance Repair St. Louis, and our site is right here. And
that's awesome.
This is actually the first site that I built, and so very funny to look back on on these. And because I think this for me was like, okay, if I can build something like this and it gets to the first page of Google, this stuff works. And so the Google My Business listing was creating, and it still is getting some phone calls, but it really took off when this got to the first page for the money keyword, main keyword.
Got it. That's awesome. And this one is, and so is this also on Maps or just organic on just the website?
It's really just organic right now. It gets some calls depending upon the area, but mostly it's organic.
The reason why I want to bring that up is because people don't realize, and I'm so happy we have this example, which is, even people think that, you have to be ranked 1 on the Maps and 1 in organic to get a client, and you're ranked number 8 on just organic on this, and didn't put energy or focus on Maps or any of that, and this is a client for you that makes money. And so on this one, how many calls did this generate?
Yeah, so I think over the last, I think it's been 82 calls. So,
which for appliance repair is crazy because it's so random. It's such a niche. But that's awesome. And what does this site pay you?
Yeah, so we do $20 a call. So this one, over $1,500 bucks, $1,600 a month. That's kind of what it's been at. So, and this is a client that is on the second page of Google. And so I am picking up all of their calls, but they were also spending an absurd amount of money, like up to $25 just for clicks on Google Ads. So this is exclude, and then they were doing Home Advisor, Thumbtack, all of those shared lead programs. So for them, it just makes sense. It's a numbers game.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and that's a point too that people don't realize is most of my clients, the same with yours, they already have websites. Having a website is not important. It's about really a lot of the skill set is how to get the site on the top of search or to get it visible and get leads. And I always say this all the time, which is, if I can generate 500 calls a month off my website, but it had to be on page 17 on the bottom, then I'm praying and hoping every day, please rank me on the bottom of page 17 of Google, right? Where it doesn't matter where you rank, it matters how many leads are you getting from your site, right? How many phone calls you're getting. And this is a great example. It's ranked 8, it doesn't have a map listing. One of your first sites, not even built as pretty or as nice as you probably wanted it. And this pays more money than your other site, your Hourglass, right? It's well over $1,000 a month. That's sweet. And how long have you had this client?
So it's actually been the same client the whole time I've had them. We've been going back since October of last year. So 13 months.
Super cool. Sweet. And then I know you have, I know when it comes to collecting payment, like obviously, the way you collect payments, your money, it's 100% your business. And so everyone does something different. I run some of my money on Stripe. I run some of it on PayPal. I get some physical checks in the mail. But for you, let's just take a look at, so this is your Stripe account where some of your clients run in. And that's awesome.
Yeah, so I did a mixture between these two processors right now. So Stripe and then another one with Converge Certain Pay as the processor. And then I have 4 clients that pay me checks per month still. They're very old school, and those are all flat. I make sure that those are flat fees so we don't have to go back and forth on all those, but I still allow for that. And it's about $2,000 a month that I get in checks.
You're looking at, almost $100,000. And that's just, like you said, it's just a part of it. And then I know you have some of it in this other merchant, which I know you have like whatever it was, like 7 or 8 grand that ran there last 30 days. I just want to show people because I think a lot of times it's really easy, especially in this internet marketing space, people just throw out dollar amounts and it sounds almost like made up money, right? Like, oh, I made 20 grand last month. Like people just say it. And I just wanted to show like, no, this is like real, like this is your money in your name. It's your LLC. It's not like one of these things that are, some made up back end on our site. Like we don't take any percentages of people's businesses. We just charge for like coaching and expertise. But that's awesome, man. It's crazy. It's just so cool to see like how you're basically replaced a $200K a year job in less than 2 years. Like that's I don't know. For me, that's still crazy. That's such a crazy thing because my mom is a PhD level scientist, and I say this on every case study. But 40 years of work experience, super smart, like brilliant. I dropped out of community college, right? And I make like multiples of times. Like I make almost what she makes in a year and a month, right? And so I look at that and go, how much we have it good in this business because we keep all the money. It's residual. We build an asset versus when you're an employee, even if you're in sales like you were, if they're paying you 15% sales commission, that just the math of that or 10%, that means you have to make 10 times more dollars to get the same amount of money than here where you keep virtually all of it. Right. Yeah. And so I think that's important for people in sales. I say all the time, like, every entrepreneur, every self-employed person has some little bit of sales in them. Even if you're introverted, even if you're not good at sales, like you have to, as a self-employed person, either ask for money or you got to hire or partner with someone in the Facebook group who is. Even though I think it's super easy to give leads to a small business owner, but like I don't think the opposite's true. Like I think a lot of people who work sales jobs, they just stay there. I don't know what advice you have for like people who are in medical device sales or come from a sales background on making that leap. Because the funny part is I've noticed they're the most skeptical, the hardest people when they talk to us of believing that this is something that they should they should take the jump to being self-employed. And you were one of those. You were a really annoying 90-minute phone call, right? Really, really skeptical, really, really difficult to believe that what we're saying is legitimate. And so what would your advice be to like either yourself 2 years ago or just any sales and medical device people out there?
Yeah, I think the first off, the advice to myself 2 years ago would have just been to take this more seriously and invest more time and energy
Yep.
into it in the beginning, and I would have been a lot farther along than I am today. That's just looking back on it. But for someone in that type of space that I was in, it really comes down to what is your end goal. If your end goal is to work a lot of hours and grind for the next 20 years or however long you plan on doing it before retirement, and that's what you want to do, then that's totally fine. But if you want to make that same type of money and more and have a lifestyle that a lot of those sales type of people like to do, anyone in medical device sales isn't it for the money, whether or not that they're going to say that they are or they're not, but they want to have a life of luxury. They want to have a life that they can basically buy and do whatever they want without having to take a look at their checking account or their bank account. So this gives you that same type of opportunity, and you already have that same type of drive and entrepreneurial spirit for the most part. Most people in that industry do. So just take a look at this opportunity and see what it can actually do for you, and you're going to be pretty surprised at what the pros and the cons are in comparison.
100%. It was good seeing you. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Absolutely. See ya.